Yo, what it do, world? It's your boy Hollywood Mike T, and you're here for another Cranked Out Conversations. You know how we get the show started. Little Crank makes to see if you can guess who we have on the show today. Today we got a very special guest, so it's a big, big show. Hey, I ain't gonna do too much rapping. Without further ado,
You are now tuned into Cranked Out Conversations. Hosted by Hollywood Mike T.
Mike T.
I took a while sabbatical.
You are now tuned into Cranked Out Conversations. Hosted by Hollywood
Yo, it's your boy Hollywood Mike T, and you are in CrankedOut Conversations. As you can see, my man was over there already cranking. He had, I don't know how much of it picked up, but if it picked up everything, that's perfect. That's perfect. Hey, man, you in the CrankedOut Conversations. It's your boy Hollywood Mike T. We in another episode. Yeah, man, I got my man Brooks. Got my man Brooks in here, formerly of Reaction, but always Reaction family. So that's how I met him. Quick story of how I met him. I really don't remember how I met him. I'm gonna be honest with you. If I remember correctly, Larry and you were the only two people that knew when we were doing the hey Larry, oh Rick looking ass. Y'all were the only two people that kind of knew what we were doing. But y'all didn't say nothing. Y'all were cool with it. Y'all was cool with it. Y'all was just, you know what I'm saying? Everything was cool. So
Yeah.
that's I think how I met you. And then we built a relationship over social media, you know what I'm saying? Getting to know each other, seeing each other, you know, going to go see y'all play. And man, I've always known you to be a good dude. So welcome to CrankedOut Conversations, my dude.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So first question I ask all my guests. Who was the first band that you knew that night they gave y'all some work?
For Reaction?
Yes.
For me, it's weird because I think prior to me joining Reaction, I was more of a fan of the bands that weren't Reaction and stuff because I looked at like my favorite band was always like ABM. That's what kind of drew me to Bounce Beat to begin with.
Okay.
But then like other bands like New Impressions and stuff always had like an affinity for those bands. So for me, it would be those bands just because I was already a fan of those bands. So it was always like, I never really looked at it too much as a competition, just more so like I always looked at this from the fans' perspective as far as like I would like every band that I go to see to crank and be good. So it was like I knew if my band was on their game and we're on our game and the other band's on their game, we can all sit at the table and eat together because everybody's like, oh, that was my favorite show. Because most of the time when fans think about like their favorite shows or like their favorite venues, it's because like all three bands or all however many bands were playing were cranking, and they knew that you will get the same level of crank at the beginning of the show if you show up early or if you showed up late. And that's what I look for. Is just like everybody always bringing their their A game, their best songs, playing to their best ability. So I don't know. I never really saw the competition of go-go, like looked at it in that way, but I was more so looking for is like we all need to, as far as like stick together and be on our best for each other, because that's how you keep the culture going.
Got you. So I'm gonna rephrase it then.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the first band that you know when playing with Reaction that y'all had to step it up that night? Not in a competition way, just you knew they just what you walked into, because a lot of times you were one of the dudes that were there to see the bands before Reaction. So your story is unique. So who would you say?
I'll say it would probably be New Impressions, just because you already knew at some point they were going to be a band that branches out, just like how any other, because most bands they start off opening for somebody,
right?
And if you can see like as the band that is the one that's the headliner, and like I said, I come to those shows early just because I was already fans of those bands, so I can already see like the the growth as far as like where they were from when I first started listening to them to where they were becoming. So it was like maybe it was more so, I always look kind of big picture, like okay, eventually they're going to find their way and be able to branch out and do big things, which they did.
Got you. So moving on. Who is Brooks? Who are you, man? Like, tell the people who you are. They don't know who you are.
You want the short, sweet life story?
Hey, man,
Uh,
go. I gave you the platform. Go ahead, do your thing.
okay. Brooks. Brooks is a dude that was born in Sacramento, California. Moved to Maryland around 97. I think the Blizzard 97 was my introduction to Maryland, the DC area.
Okay.
Um, spend part of my childhood up in like in Largo, but then spend most of it growing up in Clinton, Maryland. Went to Surrattsville. Uh, then while in high school, I think that's when I first picked up the guitar. But before that, I've always been around music because I one of my uncles, rest in peace, he rapped. He's from Sacramento, and he used to take me to the studio with him when I was a kid. And I remember like the first day I made a beat, I was like 11 years old. And
What?
my aunt stepped out. They stepped out the studio for a hot second, go like run across to the 7-Eleven cross the street. I'm in the studio with the engineer. He showed me how to program stuff on the board, and I made this beat. My uncle comes back and he looked at the producer like, "Yo, that's a dope beat you made." He's like, "I didn't make that. Your nephew did." And then from there, you know, it just that's when I kind of like fell into it. And I got my first Casio keyboard. I was like, I would take like a tape player and like hook up to like my keyboard and like try to make beats and stuff. Or I'll get like a CD player and take a CD, find like a little silent spot in the song, and just like record a loop to get like an instrumental over it. And then sometimes I go back, put my own stuff over top of it and
Yeah.
stuff. And then I honestly didn't even pick up guitar until my sophomore year of high school. But I always wanted a guitar because I played violin in 5th grade
Me
because that was
too.
the closest thing I get to a string instrument.
Me too. I did.
Yeah. And then but I remember it's funny because I remember vividly the thing that made me say, okay, at some point I'm gonna play guitar. I think I was like 5 or 6. And I was at my aunt's house and she flipping through channels and she come across MTV, and it's the November Rain Guns N' Roses music video. And it's when Slash comes out that house in the middle of nowhere and he's playing the second solo. And it was just something about that image that stuck in my head forever. And now I always point to that as that moment where I was like, okay, at some point in my life, I gotta pick up a guitar. And like I always been around it till I finally, 10th grade, asked my mom, my grandmother, put some change together. They got me my first guitar. And then from there, I was make some friends at school. We made a rock band and stuff, but then we were both in our R&B jazz band in high school. And then I didn't start playing go-go.
Hold on,
Like,
hold off on that. Hold off on that. Hold off on that. Hold off on that. Because that's my next question.
Okay. All right.
What's
Well,
your go-go
pretty much
resume?
that was that.
What's your
Huh?
go-go resume?
Go resume. Okay. My first like a band, but we weren't really like we were just kind of goofing around. It was like just dudes from my neighborhood. Everybody knew I had a drum set at the time, and then I always had my bass and stuff. So we formed this little band or whatever. It's funny because it was me and Rocky from UEB because he lived in my neighborhood. So it was
Okay.
like our little thing and stuff we had. Um, then I think later my boy Eric, he was playing for this other band. It was a band from out Waldorf. Damn, I don't want to forget forgetting the name of the band. But our acronym was MAB. We had a little band. He needed a bass player because he was going to record because I guess the bass player they had couldn't make it. So he hit me up like last minute, like, "Hey, can you come to the studio?" So I went. We played, and we played a little studio practice. Then my first show with the band was like a house show at the keyboard player's house, like in the basement. That thing was. It's funny because it's like them house shows is underrated, and I feel like they need to come back.
Here they are.
Like them basement house shows are so underrated. I remember just having so much fun, and that would kind of help me bring me into it because I've always been a fan of go-go. I just never knew about the culture of actually being at one. Like, because my dad was the one that introduced me to go-go. Because when my stepdad, when I landed in Maryland, it's funny, landing in Maryland, he picked me up from the airport. We get in the car, and it's the Huckabucks Budweiser playing. I asked him like, yo, what's that? He said, oh, that's Go-Go. And he started telling me about it and stuff like that. But that was like my favorite song after I heard it. I was like, but why? Like that was just my
Dope.
shit for life forever.
It's
That
dope.
was my shit.
It's dope.
But anyways, like I said, from there, that band broke up that we had. But we had one of the shows that we had played, it was another band called IBM, imitated by many. We switched to Just Music later. I had became friends with those guys there at the show. And then when my band broke up, and I was like, okay, I was playing bass for that band, but I was like, man, I'm really a lead guitar player. I was like, I need to find somewhere I can play lead guitar.
Right.
They already had a full set. They had they had the bass player already. My girl Faith, the Duchess rapper, shout out to her. I did some beats on her mixtape. Check her out. She, I became friends with all those guys, and I joined their band, and I was back to playing lead guitar and stuff. Then I started from there. I think that's when I started meeting people that were actually like really in the circuit, because I was in Waldorf at the time playing shows, and this brought me to DC because we practiced like right at Emory Rec Center up there with my guys from True Expressions. Shout out everybody, True Expressions.
Yes, sir.
Then from there, that band, bro, it's a story. Like we get going, band breaks up because life happens with everybody. Because it's hard to stay in a band. Everybody, where people have babies coming on the way.
Yeah, that's
we
true.
got work and whatnot. Stuff happens. So our brand split. I joined another band that was actually all those guys were from my high school, Maximum Damage. I joined their band. Same thing. I was able to play lead guitar and stuff. But the same thing kind of dissolved. Life happened to a lot of guys. But with the remainder guys we formed another band called Blueprint. And from there, that one was cool for me because that was the first band I was in where I felt like I had more creative control, because the songs we played were based off of instrumentals I was making in my house. And most of the other bands I joined, the songs were already there. I just had to come in and put stuff over top. So this was like the first time I actually had control over the music that was made. And then, once again, life happens. But from playing with them, we were playing shows where we were opening up for Reaction. So that's how I became cool with people from Reaction. Like that's when I think when we started playing was around the time Binta joined the band. I remember seeing Binta singing stuff, and I was instantly a fan of Binta's. I came up to her, was like, oh, I love you. You're so dope and stuff like that. And I would get there, I would stay after our replay just to see her sing, because I still to this day think the world of Binta.
Right.
And so, and I also became cool with Sick, my man Josh Sick. And then when before my band split, he came to me. It's like, hey man, at the time he was playing guitar, but for him, his natural instrument was keyboard. He told me, he was like, I'm trying to switch back to keyboard. If you join, you can have my spot at guitar. And I was like, trying to be loyal to my band. I was like, I gotta see this thing through, especially because this band was my baby. So I was like, I gotta see this one through, just because this is kind of all me for once. And but like I said, life happens, band dissolved. I hit Sick up. I think I was out of town at the time. He talked to the rest of the band, say, how you feel about Brooks? He's dope, got voted nasty, because at that point I became cool with everybody from Larry, and stuff. I already kind of had like a little relationship with Rick and stuff. He knew I was. I came back home. I think that would been like summer of 2008. I was out of town in Oklahoma, and I'm listening to stuff, trying to get familiar with stuff. I came back home. I probably practiced by myself for like a day or two. Went to practice that Thursday, and this one I got introduced to their schedule, which was a lot of playing. And right after practice was my first show with Reaction at G's.
Where?
G's.
Oh shit. So
we really went straight from practice to G's, and then that was around the era when we had the two shows at Tide, the Friday and Saturday, and then the joint off of the Southern Ave. I forgot the name of it, but it was like right next to it was near Brian Marin, that shopping center. I forgot that joint.
I don't know. I think I know you
They used
talking
to have the little ballad bands over there and stuff
Onyx.
sometimes. Onyx, yeah.
Yeah.
Onyx, yeah. We was
Uh,
over there.
okay.
So I got introduced to that schedule, and yeah, and from
Damn.
there, the rest was history.
Damn. Okay. Okay. So how long did you? And of course, you're the lead guitarist for the Reaction Band. Classic. You was in the classic era. I mean, you was in
Mm,
some of the gold. I mean, to me personally, some of their golden years. Like,
hmm
um, how long were you in Reaction? Or I mean, of course, you're not in Reaction now,
hmm
because you're in Cali, correct?
Yep, I'm up here in Bakersfield, California, just outside of LA.
Okay. Okay.
So
Okay. So how long did you play for Reaction?
let's see. So summer 2008, all the way up until I left September 2019. But I had little sabbaticals that I would take in between. So there's some missing years of me not being in the band and stuff. And then there was a period where the band wasn't together. You know, I don't want to say 2011. There was that point, but I took little sabbaticals here and there because, like I said, sometimes you get burnt out real quick, especially like playing in Reaction. For me, it was like I realized I didn't have much of a life as far as like outside of go-go, because it was like I
Yeesh.
practiced Tuesday and Thursday. Um, we have shows Thursday, Friday, Saturday, sometimes Sunday, then sometimes we're going out of town, then there's a private show, and then on top of that, I work a full-time job. So it was just like I was burnt out, where it was like ruining relationships I had with people that are close to me. Even though my band is close to me, but you still have your family that's
Right.
close to you, and your love life and all that stuff was kind of taking a hit, because like it's a whole different. I'll tell you, it's a whole different animal being in a band is a whole different animal being in a popular band, because it's like you're being pulled so many directions. It can be stressful at times when things aren't going the way you want it to go, and
True.
it's a lot. It can be a lot to do with. Like, and it's funny because it's like it's not like you're uh some super celebrity where like I'm here in Bakersfield, but no one knows my band or knows my face from the band. But if I go back home, it's a whole different story.
Yeah,
You
you
know,
can't go nowhere.
yeah. Well, and not even that, because like I think one thing is like it's kind of gift and a curse with bands and stuff. A lot of times, if you're not the front facing person, you can kind of live in obscurity and not worry about whether people, you know, constantly pulling at you for stuff because they know you're in the band, or constantly trying to get at you for a reason because they know that you're in a certain band, and whether it's love or hate, it can be extreme on both ends. So you're still able to live in that obscurity, but it's more so about, let's say, the people that do know you and know of you, and the things that you may want to try to do, people may get in the way of it and stuff, just because of not even just who you are, but who you're associated with.
Got you. Got you. So, um, and I got my notes.
Mm.
See, I got my notes.
Okay.
Doing this journalist thing, man. I'm trying to make an impact in the world. So,
Mm.
what were some of your favorite reaction songs? Like, what are some of your favorite reaction songs?
Favorites will probably be any of the ones where I'm playing guitar and it doesn't sound like the way other people play guitar.
Okay.
Because it'll be like songs like how I play over let's say the Halo Teenage Love Affair. Particularly like listen to like the one from the 214 CD at CFE, where because like the way I think the good thing for me, like coming up, that I didn't start off like when I was learning guitar, and I didn't start off with just go-go, or let alone I was just an R&B or a hip hop head and stuff. Because for me, the music I grew up on was like, I listened to everything, but I liked a lot of rock music and stuff. I was a Warped Tour kid, listening, of course the populars like, your Fall Out Boys and your Hawthorne Heights and My Chemical Romance stuff. Like I grew up on that stuff. But at the same time, I grew up on like heavier, like unknown stuff. Your Kill Switch Engages and stuff, Under Oaths and Children of Bodom, Every Time I Die, a lot of heavier band stuff where, guitar oriented music and heavy music. But I think that's what drew me to bounce beat also, just because when I hear breakdowns in those songs, it's like, oh, and I heard go-go bounce beat and especially slow bounce. I'm like, oh, it's just like a breakdown in a post-hardcore song or a deathcore song. It sounds the same to me in my head. So usually those songs like that, like Halo, because like I said, I like a lot of rock music. I like Halo a lot just because I'm one of my favorite guitar players is the Edge from U2, and he's mostly known for like using a lot of like clean tones and heavy delays and stuff, and this real ambient pad type of sound. So like, if I can hear it. I can do stuff like that real dreamy type stuff. I like stuff that I can do that with. And then, also like songs that I can be heavy with, like one of the songs I helped write, which was Internet Thing, because I could go straight up. I can do stuff like that over. So
That's on the
anything where
song. You play that on the song?
listen to, I think the 214, and that's like my little, I would say not beef, but my issue a lot of times with go-go recordings and stuff is that we don't do a good job of like make sure these things are polished and stuff, as far as like make sure like because that's what separates us. Otherwise, if you're just hearing timbales and drum beat, every song will sound the same to the naked ear. Granted, we'll hear the difference, but at the end of the day, we're trying to expand this thing, so we need to accent those things that makes it interesting to a person who may not hear it the same way as us. And that's what I tried to bring to the table as far as like the way I play. It's like, okay, I can't sound like everyone else, and at the same time I need to bring something different to make the people who already like it still like it, because after a while they'll get burnt out. Because like, I think the thing that always used to irritate me the most, even still to this day, when people say they outgrown go-go, like they're too old for go-go, like you don't grow out of it. Like it's funny because then like if you listen to people are fan like emo bands and stuff, or those My Chemical Romance, the famous phrase is it's not a phase. And I think go-go needs to adopt that, as far as like, you're not too old to be listening to bounce beat. I'm gonna be 7 years old still bouncing around my house listening to ABM 06 shit. And my grandkids won't look at my phone. I'm gonna still be bouncing around. I'm gonna still do all that shit. So we need to adopt that kind of mentality, is that you don't outgrow it. It's a part of the culture.
Okay. So could you play them two again?
Which ones?
Both of them. The smooth and sultry one.
Okay, so when I play Halo, it's there's a part where I'm like, and then what is it?
Hey, that second one sounds like a wrestling theme. Seriously, you can make that a wrestling theme. They can make that a wrestling theme. Like seriously, I don't know what wrestling. If I listen, I felt like I was about to rip my shirt off on the second one. I did
I
not
mean, hey,
know.
we got a couple of wrestlers that's from the DMV. Somebody reach out.
Hey, listen, man. If you watch this and you heard that, then you want that, holler at me. I'll holler at Brooks, or just holler directly at Brooks. Either way, we got to get that somewhere because I had no clue that's what you was playing. And damn, sheesh, that
It's
was.
funny because like everyone that's at the show and you stand on my side, everybody's they'll know. But like I said, like those CDs are far and few between, and a lot of times, I have no control when stuff come out because half the reaction CDs are out or leaked anyway. So
It's like a lot of guitar players and go-go just chuck. You know what I'm saying? The wah, 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 you know what I'm saying? That that
because a
right
lot of
there.
times it's happening. You gotta remember a lot of guys don't like to play the way I play. You have to listen to the stuff that I listen to. Like I grew up listening to guitar players like Zach Wild, Eddie Van Halen, Edge. Like that is my initial sound
I was
for
about
the
to
most
lead you
part.
into that. I was about to lead you
Mm,
into that. Like
mm,
getting away from go-go for a little bit.
mm,
Some of your influences that you just named, just like being black in the rock band space.
mhm,
That's a unique thing. Uh,
mhm,
a lot of people don't know about rock music.
mhm.
People say they listen to everything, but don't really know a
Oh
lot
yeah, no.
that you named. I know
Saying I
some of
listen
them.
to
I
everything
don't know
means I
all of
don't
them.
listen to everything.
Right, right. I know some of the names that you named, but
Mm,
some of your influences from the rock side. Because what I just listened to was very rock inspired, and yeah,
mm,
man, it was dope. I mean, it's dope that you so cultured with that, and you could bring it to go-go as well. But let me know
mm.
some more about your rock side.
Like I said, like I grew up listening to a lot of like they'll be called like post-hardcore bands where they blend a lot of the elements of metal, but it's also a lot of elements like punk or pop punk and stuff like that. But I also listen to a lot of, I listen a lot from each genre because I usually go through these phases where I'm only listening to like this kind of band and stuff. Like when I was in high school, I had a phase where all I listened to was like 80s hair metal stuff, like your Winger, Dokken, Van Halen, stuff like that, the early Ozzy stuff, um, James Dio, rest in peace. You know, just stuff like that, just like guitar oriented. I just always like that sound of the guitar, like that something about that 80s era stuff, because it was like it was cheesy, but it was a lot of technique in it and stuff. So a lot of times I'll listen to songs and pick up on techniques, or really I just pick up on the song. Because for me, at the end of the day, music is music. It's all about tapping into emotion. So a lot of times those songs spoke to me just as any rap song spoke to me. Like I don't discriminate as far as like, it's all about my mood.
Where did you get the influence from? Like,
Um,
how did one pick up on rock the way you did?
well, I'll say it'll start it with, let's say I'll start with one band and then eventually I'll be like, okay, I want something heavier. Usually like it's kind of a gateway thing with rock, because I would say like the first bands I was listening to, like I went and got their CDs, were bands like AFI, um, another band, the Ataris, and then another band called Audio Slave, which was just the part two to Rage Against the Machine, because I already like Rage Against the Machine. So when they got Chris Cornell, when Zach left the band, they started Audio Slave. I used to play their first album like crazy. And Tom Morello was one of my first early guitar influences, just because the stuff he would do on guitar, he'll play like these cool riffs, but then his solos don't be like regular solos. He'll, have like this trippy sound where it don't even sound like, it's not like a DJ scratching or something like that.
Mm.
And then they always had like this like little groove pocket to their music. Like if you was just listen to the drums, it sounded like something Kendrick about to spit on. And then, it was just, I just fell in love with like the sound of the guitar, as far as like a cool riff or like the tone of it, like they're doing something cool. But then, from there, it's like, okay, I want to hear something a little more technical and stuff, but at the same time, I wanted stuff that sounded like I walked this line where I like technical stuff, but at the same time, the song itself has to be good. Like you can do all the crazy solos you want and stuff. For me, it's like, okay, what's the message of the song? Is this song, this is an angry song, is this a happy song, is it a sad song, is this a reflective song? Are you telling a story? How does this song relate to the writer of the song? Like, is this based on a true story? Are they a progressive band? Like another one of my favorite bands is Coheed and Cambria,
Okay.
because they kind of run the gambit of styles, but at the same time, it's still like good music where you listen to it, it's like, oh, this is interesting. Like, because their whole catalog is basically like this. The lead singer, he's writing this story that's like this Star Wars meets like the Bible or something like that. It's this little story. It's the best way I describe it. It's like it's Star Wars meets the Bible, and it's this crazy, like, I don't know, action soap opera, thing or whatever. But the lyrics are the dialogue from the story,
Okay.
and they're like 9 albums deep.
Oh,
And they're like not but prequels, side stories, and stuff like that. But all the songs, if you listen to them by themselves, they're great songs. But then when you dive in deep into the lore of the band, you're like, oh, this is like cool. So it's like rock nerd music, best way to describe it.
okay.
But that's kind of what drew me to, like, just the rock music, as far as like, I just like the cool sounds that you can make with the guitar. And then when, I become like, a band becomes my favorite band just because, okay, I heard them do something cool, or this song is cool. So, it gravitates me towards them.
How many rock bands have you played for?
Honestly, just my one in high school.
Okay.
My one in high school, but then also my boy Pretty Black, is rapper DC. We did a band for him, one of his performances out in Virginia about 2 years ago, before I left, 3 years ago before I left. And it was me, Champ, we used to play for ABM,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
on Black Alley, me and him was playing guitar. My boy Top and his cousin was on bass. Top was playing drums. And the way Black songs were going, we played it like a rock band, because that was like his that's his style.
Okay.
So you say technically two I played in.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool. Get it. Okay. So, okay. Getting into some more stuff about you outside of the music. What are some of your hobbies? Like, what are some of the things you like to do? What are some of the things that people wouldn't think that you would like to do?
Um, Things I like to do. Well, I'm in the gym constantly. That's one thing. I
I need to get
it
in the
kind of
gym.
start. We said,
I need to get it back in the gym. Heavy.
yo, get in there, man. It's almost summer.
I got you. I got you. I'm gonna have my summer body ready for next year.
Yeah,
It's still a
man. Like
long way.
I started getting in the gym heavy probably about like 6 years ago or so.
Okay.
And it's become a part of like my like how I function through my day. And then especially once you start seeing like the changes, because like, you know, when I started high school, I weighed like 98 pounds. When I graduated high school, I weighed like 120. And then shoot, when I started reaction, I weighed 130.
Mm.
And now I'm like 180, but it's muscle. And I see the difference, it's like what Dion said, when you look good, you feel good, you play good. So it's just like,
They pay good.
and yeah, you pay good. So it's like, once I changed my look, I like how I look in pictures now. Like I don't look skinny and malnourished and stuff. So it's like, and ladies love it. So
I can dig it. I can dig it. You cook? Do you cook?
yeah, especially once I start getting more into lifting, but my cooking is more so just like bodybuilder food. It's like, white rice and chicken, or steak and whatnot and stuff. I've been fucking up my air fryer like like crazy, man. As the
I gotta
greatest
get one,
invention,
man. I gotta get one.
yo, that's the greatest invention in the world. I recommend everybody to get one. That thing saves you time. It cooks perfect. You know, that is my thing. So
Okay. What type of movies do you watch? Matter of fact, do you watch movies? Are you a movie buff? And if you
I
are,
would
what
say
type of movies?
not necessarily a movie buff, but I will not miss a Marvel movie because I am a comic book guy.
Oh, okay. Talk about that.
So
Give me some
yeah,
of your
so
comic books.
um, I'm a Marvel guy first. Because my uncle introduced me to Marvel early, as far as like, because he has like boxes of old ones still in the sleeve, still in perfect condition and stuff. I mean, he used to break it out for me and my cousin, his son, and we, that's when you fell in love for like X-Men and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but yeah, I will not miss a Marvel movie. But as far as like regular movies, I have a couple like favorites, but I'm not like I see every movie type of person and
Right.
stuff. Like one of my top ones will always be Forrest Gump. Yo, Forrest Gump is lit, bro. Yo, that dude had the life when you think about it. Like you seen it. He literally is that Jeezy lyric. I done everything to A but fuck chili. Like that dude did everything in that movie. This dude started Apple. This dude was a freaking ping pong champion stuff. That dude fought in the war. That dude hung out with the Black Panthers. This dude went to Alabama, was returning kicks. Like, what did he not do? He was rich.
Oh my
Like, no, he
goodness.
did
I did
everything.
not expect I would ever get Forrest Gump as an answer for favorite movie. Thank you.
Bro, Forrest Gump is the movie, bro. Like Tom Hanks was on it in that movie, man.
Okay.
And it's something about like movies like that, like those tragedy movies, like that one, Jack with Robin Williams, where he's
I
like
know, Jack.
yeah, Asian crazy. Like it's something about those. It's like it's sad, but to see those dudes like persevere through the movie is cool. What's another one? Truman Show.
Okay. I know.
Truman Show's another one because like I seen that movie young. That shit made me paranoid. Like I'll go in the bathroom, I'm looking behind stuff like somebody watching me. Like that movie would make you a conspiracy theorist. I'm surprised that it haven't had a resurgence lately.
Oh man. Okay. Okay. All right. So you watch TV? What you watch on TV? If you do watch TV.
I I am big. It's funny. The older I get, the more I turn into my grandmother, where she was into Matlock growing up when I was growing up, and I'm into Law and Order.
I knew you would say something like that.
I am into
I knew
Law and
it. I
Order.
knew it.
Um, it's funny because the first show that me and her were really into together was Highlander.
Okay.
That was our show.
Okay.
Um, I kind of was. I really didn't watch much Star Trek. Like a lot of times watching stuff with her. She's my grandmother's a Trekkie. Strangely, she's a Trekkie, so I watched that stuff with her. But then I guess that she had Star Trek, I had Star Wars. So,
Mm. Okay.
but yeah, I like Law and Order, Criminal Minds. I like SWAT with what's the name, Shamar Moore
Okay.
on it. Yeah, so I like those little extreme cop shows where you know, especially like Criminal Minds. That one's real. It's funny when you watch some of those shows like that, like Criminal Minds and like maybe Criminal Intent, and SVU. You get so wrapped in the story that you forget how disgusting the murder was. Like
Right.
you'll be go so wrapped up into it, and then you get to end like, oh yeah, he did like cut his dick off and feed it to him, and then threw him in the ocean or some shit like that. It's like you get wrapped in the story, you almost forget how disgusting the murder was. Like,
All right. Okay. So explain the differences of living on the West Coast and living in Maryland.
um, since I moved here, I have retired my North Face jacket.
Okay.
In fact, I think I left it in Maryland. So yeah, North Face jacket's retired. I probably wore a sweater once. Um, it'd be January. I can go outside and be in shorts for the most part here.
Making everyone
Um,
jealous here.
it barely rains where I'm at. Um,
Tony,
some days get
Tony
those.
said that.
We said, yep,
Tony said it.
it's
And
true. Never rains Southern California, and hey, that's where I'm at. And it don't rain. It's funny because now I go up to Sacramento where my dad and some other relatives are at. and I'll drive up there and they get cold weather. And one
Mhm.
day I drove up there and I forgot. I was like, oh shit, it is January. It was 60 degrees. I had not one pair of pants or sweatpants or nothing. I was just freezing. I drove all the way up there. But yeah, where I'm at, it don't if it's funny because I was at work one day and Donovan McNabb had came through.
Mm.
I was sitting there chatting with him because he coaches, because he played basketball, so he coaches like a little league, like Pop Warner, whatever you would call it, AU. So he had his kids and stuff. And I was talking to him, and he was like, "Man, how y'all live here? It's so hot." I'm like, "You live in Arizona, it's hot there." I
Right.
said, "Well, the difference is between, well, here, you're close to LA if you're doing stuff in LA, and then the cost of living is not that bad." And I was telling him like, "Yo, you can live out here, you can live in the gated community for like less than 400,000." And he sat there and pondered it. He was like, "Word?" He's like, "Nah, it's too hot, man. It's too hot." But I don't feel like it's that hot. Like it has
That's
its
because it's due
days.
to the DMV heat.
Yeah, I think DMV because it gets muggy because it's so we not that far from like a swamp. Here is not is that dry heat.
Mm.
There's like you get all, its clothes start to stick. You gotta take 3 showers and whatnot. And then also their weather's so unpredictable on East Coast.
Mm.
Like random day, probably be next week. It's gonna rain and be like 40 and then be like 90 by the weekend.
It just rained today. It was 90 degree. It was like 93 degrees before it rained, and all of a sudden that drain just came down. It was
It's crazy.
yeah, it was coming down bad. It was coming
And
down.
that's how you get sick, that back and forth. And like for me, it was like clockwork every time whenever we rolled in from where winter going into spring because it'll be so drastic, or that fall going into winter because it'd be like one day is 70, next day is 30,
Oh,
one
we
day is
skipped spring.
85. And we said
We skipped spring.
it's
It's been hot. It's just been hot.
canceled. Mm. And
Yeah,
see, that'll be the type of weather that get me sick, and I'll be struggling.
yeah.
So,
So, what's some of your sports teams?
sports team, I am a diehard 49ers fan, born and raised. My cousin used to play for 49ers, Merton Hanks, number 36. He was on that last Super Bowl team.
What's up?
Um, so that's like kind of what, helped, push me towards 49ers. My dad was already a 49ers fan prior to, West Coast. So 49ers. When it comes to basketball, I kind of follow players more so, but at the same time, I'm still like biased to like Oklahoma just because my family originated from Oklahoma on my mom's side. So, they got a sports team that try and drill me to it. And then the fact that Kevin Durant is was on the team and stuff. So that made me a OKC fan. So, and in regards to what people say about Westbrook, I'm a Westbrook stan. Like it's funny, I'm a Westbrook stan. I am the Marcus Cousins stan, and I'm a Luka Doncic stan.
Okay, okay.
And
Baseball team
of
playing.
course KD stan. I found out like later that he's like a close like family relative. Like his grandmother and a grandmother on my dad's side of family like grew up together and stuff. And we found my one cousin was getting tickets to games every time he came to and played Washington. I was like, bro, you could hook me up too. Like, I said, I would have rolled with you.
Dang, dang. Cold world, man. Cold world, man. Cold world. So, got a few more questions.
Mhm.
I'll let you up out of here. So, what do you think your impact was on GoGo? Or is on?
I would say when I came in prior to, I don't think people took having a serious guitar player that serious and stuff. And then I think when I came along, especially one thing that helped was that I used to work out of the studio strictly go-go, and like bands will come in and I'll be in the control room sometimes if I wasn't responsible for mixing the band. And I also have my setup and I'll play along to the bands. And there's probably some bands out there I probably am on their CDs just because I would just hop on just because. And a lot of bands will be like, they hear the difference of having a legit guitar player. And then I think from that point, everybody's like, bands hit me up like, hey, you know anybody that play guitar and stuff like that, looking for a band and stuff. And 'cause I think I connected ABM with Champ because I think Champ had just left CCB and we were at the CFE and Champ was talking to me. And then I think Shooters and Twin walked up and I was like, hey, meet these two. And they shook hands, made each other next to Champ playing in ABM. But I think from that point, around that time, I think once people start hearing how guitar sounds like on record, especially when they would like watch reaction, like, oh yeah, we need, because a lot of times it's like an image thing. It's like, okay, if we want to be taken seriously, we actually look like a full band. We can't be up here, with one keyboard and no bass player and stuff, or a keyboard player that's barely know how they're playing. You need some other instruments to fill in the sound. So I will hope that's is what it is. And then as far as like guitar players, just because I think around my early days reaction, I used to have a lot of the guys that played guitar for other bands and stuff. That we'd meet up at my house like on Wednesdays and just shed. Be like me. It'd be like me, Champ, my boy Tony, who was playing in New Impressions at the time. You had my boy Matt that was in XIB. There's four of us, and then a couple other guys would come over. My boy Scooby from UEB would come over too. And we all would just shed and jam, hang out and stuff like that. And I'll, because I was always like a tech savvy guy, I would give guys, tips like, oh, how to set stuff up and whatnot. Because a lot of times I realize like a lot of guitar players aren't really it's two separate words. One, if you know how to play the guitar, and then some people who can do the technical side, and then there's like that in between where you can kind of do both. And I always try to offer like advice, to help guys with tone, like what to get, how to maybe simplify their rig so that way they can get the most out of it and just get some different sounds and stuff. Because like I'm not a guy that wants to, I don't like the hoard information stuff, because some people like they got the keys to the success. They don't tell the next person, thinking that it's a zero-sum game. But it's like, no, if I'm playing well and other people playing well, guess what? People are going to want to listen to go-go, because they'll be like, oh, I like this band, because it's a gateway. They're going to hear your band and be like, oh, I want to hear more stuff like this. Who else has stuff like this? They'll go to the next side and go next side. Eventually works its way to you. As long as you're doing what you're supposed to do as far as putting your best foot forward. And at the same time, it's like, you don't want to be a hater. You want to see the next guy win. Because one thing about people is like, you remember, especially good people, they remember when you do something nice for them. And you always pay it forward and you always pay it back. So it's like, for me, it was like, I look out for my guys, ask, tell everybody all the time, it's like, if you got a question about how to set stuff up, how to record and whatnot, it's like, hit me. I'm not even charging you a dime to do so. I was like, I just want to see you use it. That's my payment. If I tell you something and it's good info, I just want to see you actually use it.
Gotcha.
So for me, that's my, my hopeful impact on go-go is that, it's the idea that people are sharing information. Like if you heard it from me, pass that along to the next guy. And then at the same time, as far as like, care about your sound at the end of the day. I think sometimes that get lost with, bands that worry about the logistics of other stuff that doesn't, the stuff that won't come until you make good songs. Because a lot of people, I think a lot of bands, everybody thinks that, they got a good song, they got a hit, they got a couple of girls dancing when they play the song. Like, no, a hit is when they play it on the radio and you didn't have to bug the DJ. A hit is when it's on iTunes and it's yours and you wrote it and you get a royalty check. A hit is when you don't have a day job. And I feel like guys need to work towards that. And you have more bands working towards the real idea of success for a band. Cause I think we separate, how far a go-go band can make it and how far you can make it if you're doing rap or if you're doing R&B and stuff. Because if you're doing R&B, everybody's like, oh yeah, I can get signed, or I've been on, major label or something whatnot. I'm touring doing that. But go-go, your ceiling in your mind is, oh, I'm playing at Brian Manor, I'm playing at Onyx headlining, or I got 3 headline shows, a week or something like that. But it's like you still work your 9 to 5. Like that's not the end goal. And especially with a genre like go-go, it's like I feel as though if packaged right, the first band to package it right in the same fashion that you would an R&B artist, that band is out of here. That band's there because you're literally sitting on gold mine. Because like there's always some hipster looking for some new music. There's always this search for a new sound. And like especially with something like go-go where it's so original in its sound. It doesn't sound like anything else, but it sounds like a mixture of everything. It's it's black. It's so black. And
You
it's
ain't
like
lying.
especially when you have this renaissance of black people, really like understanding themselves and their place in the world and understanding how beautiful being black is. You would think a genre like go-go is just waiting to be presented to the world, like, hey, if you like being black, here's your theme song. Like,
I think that
because literally we can do everything. Like, name a genre where it's like where the band's aura is still the same, but you can present love songs, you can present clapping songs. Like, you can be for the strip club, you can be for somebody's wedding, and you can be for just chilling music, and
yeah,
you be the same band. But I feel like it just guys just have to present it in a different way. And like I said, you have to care, and then look at people who care about their stuff as your inspiration. Like I would like, because honestly, like my dream as far as like a setup for a band is to come to the stage similar to how I see some rock bands come to stage, and that's even the smaller bands where
flying
you
in,
have like we said what?
like flying in and stuff like that.
Not even flying in, just more so
I
like
want
you
to
have
do
a
that. I want to
stage.
come like this.
But like you have like a cool stage setup that's what based off like your album art cover and stuff like that.
That's dope.
You have a dope intro where everybody kind of comes out like one by one, and then you play and you click sticks and you go straight into like wherever, like let's say the first song on the album that came out or something like that.
Dope.
Just like just a different setup as far as like how you present, because I've seen it work. Like for me, I look at stuff I've seen work for other genres. I'm like, okay, why can't go-go like do that exact same thing but play go-go music? Like, come to stage the exact same way, have the same setup, have the play the same amount of songs, 6 to 7 35-minute set, you know give the people enough where they're amazed but not enough where they have time to pick and get bored or whatnot stuff, and present it that way. Like, follow those examples and stuff like that, because a lot of times we follow each other and we'll think, okay, it worked for reaction, so I'm gonna copy that. But it's like, I want the next band to do something different than what reaction do, and like push the envelope, because it's not like reaction completely copy TSP, and it's not like TSP completely copy Huckabucks, or Huckabucks completely copy Chuck Brown. Everybody brought something different that the other person didn't do, and everybody just kept that going from there.
Gotcha.
And I feel as though the next band, or even be a current band, like just one day wake up, look at your band, and be like, look, we need to do something different. Otherwise, we're just gonna be spinning our wheels.
Okay. That's an amazing answer. I do
Mm.
think that part of the reason why go-go's still here, the main reason is business wise.
Mhm.
We just never really had that person that really had enough to invest into it for
Yeah.
to do the stuff that you said.
But I would say this one thing about today, because it's so easy to get your hands on, like, let's say recording equipment and stuff, and like be able to set stuff up. It's not that the threshold to get from point A to point B is not as um I would say unfathomable as before.
I'm talking about the stage setup, like
Stage.
that type of stuff. Because I think like a newer
I mean, it
person,
depends on how extravagant. Like, it don't necessarily have to
yeah,
be like super. Because like I seen like a lot of bands I listen to one thing, and they all kind of do the same thing, but because the artwork is different, you don't really pay attention to it. Where they'll just have like these like curtain things, probably like the same size as one behind me, and it's sitting on a rack, and it has like a printout of the artwork. When I was in the band with my man Sick, called Queen Crank Guys, before we ended up splitting, we were planning on doing something similar to that, and those things like $200.
Okay,
And like, dude, spend that on sneakers.
that's true. That's true. Because I was thinking like a New Impressions. To your point, like they would do something like that. I could definitely see them doing something extravagant like that. And I
Yeah,
remember
like you do something like that, like these little banner things, like as the background, where it's a lot of times they'll use it to block the amps, so it's like there's no sound feedback into the mics that are facing backwards and
but they
stuff.
got
But
the
then a lot of
TVs
times
now. They got the TVs.
we say,
Some of the
yeah,
clubs,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, some of them got the TVs and stuff. I would put my band on there. My
Yeah. I
band.
say what some bands can do, they can actually put like a like a video that goes along with the stuff. Like I remember seeing the band Megadeth about 4 years ago, and the way they had their set, for one, they played their set was played to a click, where the guitar player had a similar thing like I have this thing for the guitar sounds. It's called Kemper. It has like everything. It's the greatest thing ever created. I encourage every guitar player to get one. But anyway, they will have their setup, like the sounds programmed into here, and have it synced up with the laptop that had the like their click tracks and stuff. But then they also had like a movie thing that was playing in the background on the big screen. So when they would play, the guitar player didn't even have to step on his foot switch. It was just they had everything synced up. Because at the end of the day, like if you're playing a set list, the show is the show. You do
Right,
rehearsal, you're gonna play the same set list 40 nights for the next 3 months or whatnot. Ain't nothing changed. You can do this in your sleep.
right,
So a lot of times, they'll have it set up. Ain't nothing changing in the set unless they go and program it, which sometimes they'll do. But it made it easier because then, guys are able to, I go stand on this side of the stage, do my solo, run that side of the stage, do my solo. We can have like a synchronized part where we're all headbanging at the same time and stuff. And then you're not worried about like tap dance on the foot switch to switch your sounds,
right.
especially if you're going from one drastic sound to another. So
Got you.
I that's what I'm saying. I would like to see a band, try it just like one time just to see, what you would get, especially at like a bigger show where you're in front of people. Like when we're playing like we got bands playing like Broccoli Fest or something like that. Or like or you try do a trial run at a club, but at those bigger shows where you have different eyes watching you, like I would like to see bands like step up and actually mimic what the bigger artists actually do, is how they go about playing their shows. Man, I say especially like a rock band, especially because the way the energy that is around like the sound, especially like bounce beat, leans more towards like a rock band or like that SoundCloud rapper type of stuff. Like I can imagine like if you were to just play go-go music, but then had a video of like an old XX Tentacion concert, it would line up. The energy would line up.
That's true.
It literally says your reaction starts up the train. It looks like an eggshell.
That's
So I would like to see bands like gravitate towards that imagery, knowing that people who like that kind of sound, that type of hype sound, would love go-go music. And especially when you add in the fact that it's so black.
okay. Got
So
you. Got
like
one more question.
I was like, I'm giving keys here to any band.
Hey,
I'm telling y'all, like it will work. I swear on everything.
bands, if you a band member, you see this, think outside the box, man. Think outside the
Every
box.
band, everything that I just said, I need you to do that on 4 of them.
Yes, yes. So this is the last question I ask everybody.
Yup.
If you had one person for me to interview that you would want me to interview, who would it be? And you got to help me get that person.
One person.
You got to help me get them.
Okay. I would want you to talk to my man Sick.
You got to help me get them.
I will shoot him a message. Talk to my man Sick, and I'm gonna see if he can have one where it's him and his wife sitting down together, Queen. And because they're out in Atlanta now doing their thing. and Sick, the one that brought me on to Reaction. So it's, I thank him for that, just because like my whole, I would say, my music direction in DMV would probably be different if he didn't vouch for me. Because from there, I think that's what kind of opened me up to like just, being able to play in front of, more people and stuff like that. And then, contribute something that I know people are going to hear as far as like being in the band and stuff. Especially because when I was in Reaction, like I would say there was like that period where we was just creating stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you got songs like Internet Thing, and you got songs like Gucci Bandana and stuff, and you got songs like Swag Beat.
Mm-hmm.
It came from me and him. Like I would bang. It's one thing when you bang the table for something by yourself, but if you got somebody else in the room that's just as passionate about this move,
That's dope.
it makes it easier to bring other people on.
Yeah.
So, and I always looked at him as like, that's the reason why, like, if I ever had an idea and it got through, is because he always had my back on it and stuff, as far as like getting other people. Because a lot of times I'm coming from left field already when I hear idea. Like, perfect example of this. We did a practice. This is 2008, like that, somewhere in that winter. And every week we bring a cover song. Everybody like brings a cover song that they want to do. I bring in the song "Give You" by Drake and Trey Songz. And at that point, Drake wasn't even signed to Wayne yet. And I'm sitting there trying to explain to everybody like who he is. And it's weird when you're doing covers with Reaction, because it's like you want to do something that people know, because you don't want people standing around like, oh, what the hell is this? But in my mind, I was thinking like, no, we gotta be different. We gotta step outside the box. This song is dope. We just gotta do it this way. But it was kind of hard to get people to buy in, especially when I had to explain who Drake was. It was like, yeah, he's this half white, half black Jewish rapper from Canada that's on this teenage soap opera that I really like. He also happens to rap, and it's just like, but he got Trey Songz on it. I like Trey Songz, right? And backline, we cranked the song, but frontline wasn't feeling it, so we ditched the song. And then a year later, what song are we doing on the Summer Grind CD? You the Best, picked by yours truly. And I remember D Love, rest in peace, my guy D Love. And when you picked the song, and I think we just recorded, it's like, yeah, Brooks told y'all about Drake a year ago. I was like, thank you. The best A&R in the game. I saw Drake coming before Wayne did.
That's dope.
I was telling her about, I was like, yo, this dude gonna be out. I was standing for Drake. I was like, yo, this dude, he can rap, he can sing and whatnot. He got the swag. And I'm telling y'all, this dude about to be a star. Watch. He's like the next LL. And sure enough, that dude took off.
That's dope. That's dope. Well, I'd like to thank you for coming through today, man. Thank you for coming
No
through.
problem.
You already know, man, you folks with me, good folks, man. I'm even more of a fan now. I gotta go back and listen to some CDs and go see where I can hear that at, because man, that was dope.
It's, I tell you, it's tough. And I used to be like my beef, but half the Reaction CDs are leaked anyway. And then like, I think also like I used to, I would say not beefs to sound men or whatnot, but we always had like these disagreements about like how it's supposed to sound. Cause like I'm coming from a world where like I mix too, but a lot of times they have their way if they want to mix. So they like in their minds, like I'm mixing like a go-go CD. And in my mind, I'm like, yes, it's go-go, but I'm trying to do something different. And this part needs to be heard a little bit differently. Right. So, and then, it also helped that I wasn't there half the time. And then, like I said, half CDs leaked, and some were just not the best mixes as far as, because at the end of the day, they still have to deal with the equipment they had. So I'll say the best CD will probably be like the 213 from CFE. And there's a couple other ones that float out that sound like you can hear my guitar parts in it really well. But the 213 is probably like, that's probably my best one, because I think that was that's the reunion one we did at CFE.
I got that.
So. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
got
that's the first one that had Halo on it and stuff.
you.
So that's like that's probably one of my favorites as far as it has all the stuff on. There's another one, I just forgot the date on it. But yeah, those are the main ones. But then one more thing for us, if anybody's watching this, next week I will be back in town. But first, I'm gonna be in South Carolina for Black Bike Week. I'm gonna be playing with Reaction at the show down there at Pirates Cove that Saturday. Then Wrestling Week is up in the air as far as like what if I'm gonna play one of the shows, because I'm not sure what the schedule is gonna be next week. But as of now, I'm playing South Carolina Bike Week.
Oh,
So I'll be there for that. So
oh.
maybe we'll get a good CD. I'm gonna try to shoot some film though, so there'll at least be some of that.
Hey, I'm Hollywood Mike T, man. There's been Cranked Out Conversations. And yeah, man, we out.
You are now tuned into Cranked Out Conversations. Hosted by Hollywood Mike T. Mike T.